On today's show, this was just a bad loss for the Cleveland Cavaliers. Straight up bad. We'll explain why and discuss what it tells us on today's Locked On Cavs.
You are Locked On Cavs, your daily Cleveland Cavaliers podcast.
Today's episode of Locked On Cavs is brought to you by Nissan. Are you the kind of driver that likes to push things a little further? Ever wonder what adventure could be around the next corner? Take the Nissan Rogue, Nissan Pathfinder, or Nissan Armada and go find your next big adventure. Check them out today at nissanusa.com. I'm Chris Manning. That's Evan Dammarell. Jake Stevens is back here on production. And boy, oh boy, the Cleveland Cavaliers lost to the Brooklyn Nets, who were on the second night of a back-to-back after the Cavs played Friday. And, Evan, what I think is a pretty... I'm trying to think of the exact right word, but it was the Cavs I felt were unserious and undisciplined, and there's not very much I think you can say about this game that reflects well on the Cavs. Like, they did very little good in this game.
Well, I wanted to pose this question to you, and he said it was a bad loss and everything else, but who was the biggest loser in this game? Was it the Cleveland Cavaliers, the fans?
Anyone who paid money for a ticket. Anyone who paid money for this.
Yeah, it was a dreadful basketball game, wire to wire. There's a little bit of like some competitive flair in the first half. I think the Cavs are either up or only down one at halftime, which, hey, good job, Cavs. They were down one at halftime, so you're like, listen, they're undermanned. They're going to be maybe a little bit outgunned just in terms of the Nets having more legs available than them. But golly, that third quarter really was a grind out. My wife was working on some stuff and made the comment of, oh, wow, this game is going for a while because this is the second quarter. And then she went upstairs for like 30-ish minutes. And it really contextualized like how dreadful this game was in the third quarter, because it just felt like a slog, and Brooklyn was getting whatever they wanted. And you made a smart point, we'll talk about it in a bit, about Jarrett Allen and just like how vital he kind of is for this Cavs team lately. But broad takeaway for me is just this was probably Darius Garland's worst game since coming back from the jaw injury. Like, it just was very flat and unremarkable. I think the assist to turnover ratio is the biggest thing that stands out. Sure, he had 9 shot attempts in this game. He went 3-6 from 3. That's encouraging, but the 5 assists to 4 turnovers is killer, just because like the Nets came in here and just bullied you right away, and you're not giving yourself any chances if you just keep turning over the ball carelessly like that.
I don't really. Sometimes Garland's willingness to defer to others, I think at times is part of the appeal of him and part of his strength, but he took 9 shots in this game. 6 of them were from 3. He just came off this game against the Wolves where he was really good on 2s and looked more like himself. He even hit a movement 3 in this game that I was like, oh, okay, we're doing something here. Like the early signs, I was like, okay, great. Like this is what you need. And he ends up having a game where he's the lead ball handler, and Craig Porter Jr. took more shots than him, and Craig Porter Jr. wasn't even like really that good in this game, but like Darius Garland was just not effective, really. Like you got really good stuff from Niang. Allen, not his biggest statistical night, but was good, I thought. Isaac Okoro, which is dependable now and solid as all heck everywhere, but this doesn't work unless Darius Garland's the tone setter of this game, to your point. And if he's going to play like that, I don't really know what the Cavs are supposed to do. Everything is going to extend off of him in these moments where there's no Mitchell. It's kind of on him to pick up that baton and carry the Cavs somewhere, and he just couldn't do it, didn't do it for whatever reason.
I think that's the disappointing and I think frustrating thing in this game is, he's capable of doing. We've watched it in the past. He did admit after the Wolves game that he still isn't 100% physically, and he's still ramping himself back up to get back onto the court, whether it's just his weight not being where it wants to be or the fact that like his conditioning isn't where he wants it to be. And like, yeah, those could be factors, but the Cavs did have the day off yesterday in between the Wolves win and this just just bleh performance against the Nets, and now you have the Suns game lingering soon after that. Like, it's gonna be tough no matter what. And I think you and I both talked about this, just with how inopportune the timing was for him to be sidelined, and then learning just about the severity of the things he had to go through during his recovery that is really going to hold him back. But there are moments where the Cavs are undermanned. They don't have Donovan Mitchell. I mean, I know Karis LeVert started in this matchup, but like, this is going to be a game where you look at Darius Garland, or just any of these games without Donovan Mitchell, you look at Darius Garland and say, like, okay, we need you to kind of be the player you were several seasons ago when you were an all-star, but like, just be very comfortable carrying and shouldering the entire offensive load as much as you can. Yeah, we'll defer and help you in other places when we can, but the majority of the bulk is going to go on Darius' shoulders, and he failed to meet the Cavs at the Summit tonight.
Evan, here's where I'm torn with Garland. I want to be sympathetic at to a degree and be like, yeah, like, you went through some stuff. Like, we all go through some stuff, and it's hard and can drag you down. Like, that's a very human, real thing. At a certain point, and this is the case, I think, just in life, too, you kind of just have to take people for what they're giving you at that given moment. And it's not an indictment on him as a man or anything. It's just, he's not playing the way the Cavs need him to right now. Whatever the reasons, he's not. And that's a problem. Like, it is a problem at this point, I think. There's not really a way to get around it. He's not consistent. He's not aggressive enough. And I think in general, the team not having any verve when Mitchell's not on the floor, or frankly Strus, it's like, how, like, Karis LeVert doesn't give them that. Isaac Okoro plays really hard. He does not give them that. They're like missing the people that can rev them up right now, and that's another kind of issue here, I think. Is it tells you a little bit about the makeup of this team, a little bit, that it's like really dependent on certain guys, and you know, that's how this works. It's a star-driven league, but like, you kind of would expect Garland to give you more of that at this point, or embrace it. And like, even if he's not 100%, it's kind of his job to do that if he's going to get paid a ton of money and be one of the face of the franchise. It's kind of on him to be that guy, and it doesn't feel like he is right now, to me.
To your point about Strus, it also doesn't help that Sam Merrill's shots just completely abandoned him. I think he's 8 of 24 on his last 24 or so three-point attempts when I last looked. Like, he's just not getting the shots to fall like the Cavs had hoped they would. He was 1 of 7 in this game. All 7 attempts were from three-point range. So, like, it's not great times. Like, you're able to get some of not the same product that you would get from Max Strus, but you can get some of the sameness because he can run similar sets and things like that for Merrill to maybe get him some looks on the perimeter just to stretch out the offense a little bit more and maybe keep the defense moving, so you're able to attack the basket and get a little bit more creative with other things too. But yeah, it's tough. Like, it's a starter-driven league, like you said. This Cavs team is very heliocentric to Donovan Mitchell. He is the engine for this quote-unquote Ferrari.
Is it a Ferrari right now? Like, I mean, it feels like it's like, I don't want to disparage anybody. We can't, because we'll get ourselves in trouble here, possible money. But like, it's like a...
Yeah, I'll tell you what, they need like an oil change. It's not today's title sponsored. It's not a Nissan.
No, it also needs an oil change, probably. Like, the Cavs just like need like some new brakes. Like, they need to fill up the gas. Like, there's something.
They need a break. They need a break really more than anything. Like, that. This is the problem with having 4 rotation guys out, is there's going to come a time where the bill comes due, and some of these players that maybe are playing heavier minutes or are playing in multiple overtimes and things like that, you're going to get driven down into the ground a little bit quicker, just because like your energy reserves are expended quite a bit. And I think we're seeing the issue in this one. The Cavs being down 4 rotation guys, one of which is your superstar in Donovan Mitchell, and also Evan Mobley, who is an otherworldly defender, like, really does kind of paint a picture of how thin the Cavs can get very quickly when looking at how top heavy they are in some spots.
All right, up next, backup center was a glaring issue for me in this game. When Jared Allen wasn't on the center of the floor, the Nets just got everywhere inside. I'm gonna ask the question: is backup center a long-term positional issue for the Cavs? We'll touch on that after this. Today's episode is brought to you by Nissan, our title sponsor today. Are you the kind of driver that likes to push things a little further? Ever wonder what adventure could be around the next corner? Our friends at Nissan have a lineup of SUVs with the capability to take your adventure to the next level. The 2024 Nissan Rogue is perfect for city drives and great escapes. It has class exclusive Google built-in. You're always updating assistant to call on for almost anything. Gone are the days of connecting your phone. Google Assistant, Google Maps, and Google Play Store are built right in to the 12.3-inch HD touchscreen infotainment system. The 2024 Rogue is the perfect midsize crossover for your next adventure. Nissan's incredible lineup also includes the 2024 Nissan Pathfinder, which has room for up to 8 and expansive cargo capacity and advanced available 4x4 capability. With 284 horsepower and up to 6,000 pounds of towing, when adventure calls, the Pathfinder is there to answer. Take the Nissan Rogue, Nissan Pathfinder, or Nissan Armada and go find your next big adventure. Shop nissanusa.com. So backup center in this game, to me, Evan, is part of the... It's not the whole reason they lost, but Jared Allen, I think kind of maybe good big picture, doesn't play that many minutes, just gets him like a little bit of a lesser burden. But when he's off the floor and it's Damian Jones or it's Isaiah Mobley or them together, no fear from Brooklyn, on top of just being able to beat guys at the point of attack in this game and make, to their credit, making a lot of tough jumpers. I mean, we're really hot from three all over the board. It felt like they got into the paint so easily and so often, and it made me wonder, okay, Tristan Thompson was great, then he gets spent with PD. He's also older. Obviously, you're going to have Mobley and Allen. But when you have injuries or you need to play another big, I just don't think they have someone you could really trust to play those minutes right now, and that's both for right now and I think going forward. I'd be a little, that to me is more of a roster issue or roster hole than I would have expected coming into this year.
Yeah, this is you would hope, at least, that when it came to Damian Jones, that the answer a little bit more would have been like he can give you a little bit of the sameness that Allen does in terms of just size and maybe like rebounding and just some defensive upside. He's never going to be quite the player Allen is, maybe even Mobley as well. But either way, like, it's just hasn't clicked. Like, I think it is very clear now why Damian Jones has bounced around between so many teams in just the last year alone. He was with the Lakers, the Warriors, the Jazz, and then the Cavs. Like, it's all just been really just not good, fun basketball, TBQH, and it's just tough. And then, like you said, Tristan Thompson's old. He was on PEDs last season, or this season rather, and he's going to be dry when he comes back to the Cavs in a few days, and like, he's not going to be the same player he was. And I think that's just, obviously obvious. So you're just hoping that you can maybe patchwork this together. But for me, at least in this game against the Nets, what became clear is, like, Isaiah Mobley may not be the right guy to back up Evan Mobley and Jared Allen long-term at center. And then, like, you looked at across the Rubicon, maybe it's Khalifa Diop if he ever comes over to the NBA, but, like, you can't really say, like, yeah, that's going to be our answer come playoff time, or just come next season. So, like, yeah, like, it's been an issue for a bit. I think the ditto for backup point guard. Like, you're hoping Craig Porter Jr. maybe pans out for Darius Garland, but like, the Cavs just have struggled to address kind of what is a very clear need for them for the longest time.
I think it's also just interesting to consider, like, what they could need from that position. If you're saying, okay, we need someone to play 12 minutes a game, rebound, contest shots, like, just be physical. It kind of makes sense in some ways that that's where Tristan Thompson, like, ended up being a good answer for that for this year. And, like, generally he was much better than I think anyone. I think if you gave the Cavs true serum, they might tell you he was better than he expected. And I don't want to also, like, overreact totally to one game either. Like, this Cavs defense still should be very good when they're fully healthy. It's just you sometimes in the NBA, I think there is just, like, a need to layer in depth and layer in, like, actual, like, replaceable things. And Jones was, like, a little bit of a statistical change in terms of what Allen is in terms of low foul rate and all that stuff. I understood why, because he's athletic, he's a little bit older, could dunk. Like, you kind of could project him into something and maybe believe you could coach it out of him. If you look forward, I think you're looking for something pretty conservative where they could play a little bit of drop, maybe switch every so often, based on your price point, you're not going to be able to spend a lot, so it's not going to maybe be the perfect player. I could see them skewing younger, which makes you think about Isaiah Mobley, who plays 20 minutes in this game. Khalifa Diop's overseas, barely playing in Spain right now. So, I don't even know if the internal options you have are the most appealing. I mean, what did you make of Isaiah Mobley in this game, Evan, in his first, real extended run, not, in garbage time for Cleveland this year, it felt like?
Pretty unremarkable. I think, it's just pretty unremarkable. He gave you some rebounding, he gave you some scoring, but you can tell that he is much or not as athletic rather than his brother. So there's a little bit of the struggle there defensively on what he can provide you. And sure, there's some minutes there, but I think there's maybe not that full blown comfort that he has with playing with this team. So I can't fully gauge it, but it wasn't very stellar or stuck out or anything like that, just because he's been marinating for almost 2 full seasons at this point with the Charge. And I was expecting to see maybe some growth or some just pinpoint moments. And he didn't really stand out for me for the Cavs that hardly ever played for this team that got the opportunity to play tonight.
Does he also just doesn't seem that big?
No. I mean, no. He is shorter than his brother, I believe, by 2 inches. And he kind of fit. He is more of a traditional 4 than he is a 5, but you need him to play that 4 or 5 spot.
Yeah, he's listed on Basketball Reference at 6'8", 240. That's if you're gonna be 6'8", I want you to be thicker, and he's not the thickest. Xavier Tillman by comparison is listed at 6'8", 245. I think of him and I think of a thicker, stronger guy. I don't think of Mobley as about the elder Mobley as a particularly physically strong guy, and that he's kind of finesse. He's a little bit. It's about the touch and the feel and the passing. And there's additive things I think he can do as a basketball player. But is it what he's going to make sense to do at the NBA level and within the context of the Cavs? Maybe not, and that leaves you maybe looking for veterans in the summer.
It gives you pause.
Yeah, it gives you pause. And I've said this before, and we've hit on this before, but I do just wonder at a certain point if he was going to matter to them, if he was going to be someone they were actually interested, I think that maybe they would have played him already. Sometimes they can say what they say, but actions speak louder than words.
They 100% do, and I think to your credit and to your point, if the Cavs are going to play him at any point, they would be playing him by now. I don't want to discredit other players the Cavs have tried to cook through the G League system, but Dean Wade found his way onto this roster. Sure, the Cavs weren't great when that did happen, but they also found ways to make players viable. Sure, Lamar Stevens was ready right away, or Dean Wade became more ready in time, or Craig Porter Jr. was ready right away, but they've invested a lot of time, energy, and resources into Isaiah Mobley, and it just kind of hasn't clicked yet. And you're hoping at this point that it does, just because it's gonna be trickier and trickier until it does. And then, like you said, you need to go look at the free agency market, or do you use a 2nd-round pick on this option too? You already have enough money devoted financially to the big position between Jared Allen, eventually Evan Mobley. You already have George Niang on your payroll too. There's gonna be only so much money to go around, and you can't go out and make a huge splashy signing at the big man position. So maybe it is more veterans, but if you're the Cavs, you just really hope that something can click or just manifest for you in terms of just internal growth and development, so that you don't really have to worry about this type of a hurdle.
Yeah, and I think the only pick you have right now in the draft is a late first. I would rather spend that on a wing of some kind than a big. We'll see how the board breaks, I guess. But I would still just rather take shots at wings than I would, a backup center.
I agree wholeheartedly. If the Cavs tackled backup center as their position of priority, that would not be a fun time if you were Cleveland or a fan of this team in the grand scheme of it all. So, we shall see how it develops. But it certainly, Isaiah Mobley did not pop for me. It's this is an opportunity for you to really make a strong enough impression. Just based on the differences of the G League and the NBA, and he certainly just didn't in this game against the Nets.
All right, coming up after this week of Cavs basketball, they have a game against Phoenix on Monday, a game against New Orleans on Wednesday, and then they play Houston, who probably will be down in Alperen Sengun. So no Mobley Sengun matchup because injuries on both sides coming up on Saturday. What are we looking forward to this week? That's up next. Today's episode is brought to you by LinkedIn. When you're hiring for your small business, you want to find quality professionals that are right for the role. That's why you have to check out LinkedIn Jobs. LinkedIn Jobs has the tools to help find the right professionals for your team faster and for free. LinkedIn isn't just another job board. LinkedIn has a vast network of more than 1 billion professionals, which makes it the best place to hire. It gives you access to professionals you can't find anywhere else. LinkedIn does all that while making the process easy and intuitive. Hiring is easy when you have that many quality candidates. So easy, in fact, that 86% of small businesses get a qualified candidate within 24 hours. LinkedIn knows that small businesses are wearing so many hats, it might not have the time or resources to hire. LinkedIn is constantly finding ways to make the process easier. They even just launched a feature that helps you write job descriptions, making the process even easier and quicker. 2.5 million small businesses use LinkedIn for hiring. Post your job for free at linkedin.com/LockedInNBA. That is linkedin.com/LockedInNBA to post your job for free. Terms and conditions apply. Evan, what are you looking forward to this week? What's on top of your mind?
Well, if Devin Booker's back, excuse me, and it's expected that he'll be back against the Cavs for the Suns, that'll be fun. It'll stink if the Cavs are, like, again, just super undermanned like they have been, because you would like to ideally see Donovan Mitchell going blow for blow with Devin Booker and Kevin Durant. But you take the good with the bad whenever you can. So I'm looking forward to that. Just the fact like the Suns are a very good team. They're very fascinating. I think could be a big like confidence booster win, if you want to call it that, for the Cavs, if they're able to defend home court before they go on a very lengthy MAC tournament road trip. But just starting with that, and then, I mean, the Pelicans soon after that, like, that's a really pesky, annoying draw, just because, like, that's another very good team. And you're hoping at least the Cavs get just incrementally healthier throughout the week, like whether it's Donovan Mitchell coming back sooner, or maybe you just get an update on him and Mobley, and you have a better perspective, and understanding of where this team is at, like heading into the end of this week. But like, it starts the Suns and the Pelicans, and then off the court, like, you just hope you get an update on Mitchell. What about you?
Yeah, it's kind of the health thing for me, unfortunately. That's not the fun answer, but
it's not, but it's the logical one.
It's the pragmatic one. This team is really just in need of getting Mitchell and Strus back, and then getting some update on Mobley. I think that's kind of the most important thing in their universe right now. I do want to talk about Monday for 1 second in this specific. The more and more I think about it, and the more and more I kind of think about where the NBA is at as like a product, which I hate that I kind of think in this way, but it's my brain's rot.
Yeah, it's just true.
It's fried. Yeah, it's fried. The world where like there's a world where like you can't get Devin Booker because he was hurt and he's going to come back, but then Mitchell's also out, and then you're revving up games after the All-Star break. Like, teams are playing more frequently and all this stuff post All-Star break and lead up to the playoffs, so there's like a rash of injuries around the league right now. What are we doing? Like,
well, to make it even harder, the Cavs had to cram in a good portion of their first half of the season because they had to go to Paris for a week to play one game.
Yeah, so like what are we doing? Like, in some ways, like, you can look at like losses sometimes. Like, it's impossible to do, like, and we don't have access to like the data like on like Cleveland Glass or something, but I'd almost want to like be able to run a filter on stuff and be like, here's all the games that were just junk for like scheduling reasons, and like with publicly facing
tonight's
data.
Game, like, just think of the fans who, like, if they can't afford tickets to any other game, they're able to afford the tickets to watch the Cavs play the Nets. And you get, and this is no disrespect to any of the guys that the Cavs play, but like, you're hoping to see Donovan Mitchell, Max Strus, Evan Mobley, Jared Allen, Darius Garland, everyone at full strength. And instead you're getting like Craig Porter Jr., Pete Nance, Amani Bates, etc., and so on. Like, it's just like, it takes the wind out of the sails. And I know everyone is hurt and everyone's dealing with everything. And JB Bickerstaff would say no one gives an SH, you know what, about this at this point in the season. Like, there is no, like, rest for the weary, I guess, if you want to put it like that. But yeah, from like a capitalistic standpoint or product standpoint, like the Encore product is suffering because the NBA is trying to cram in even more. And I think 82 games is just becoming more and more unrealistic. And it is interesting. Like Bickerstaff says, like a lot of players, like because their players coming up are so specialized in terms of their training, like their bodies can't handle certain rigors or things like that when it comes to like just the full grind of like an 82 game season. But more interestingly to me is just like health is just continues to be like a bit of an issue for every team, the Cavs included, and it just the Encore product is certainly suffering quite a bit for it.
I just don't revving up games after the All-Star break is just it doesn't like make sense to me. And I'm not saying that like
fool's errand.
It's just like why are we the Cavs will play like sometimes like 4 games in 7 days. That's just like
They had that twice post All-Star break, 4 games in 7 nights, and then like this is 2 weeks in a row now where they've had back-to-backs like this, and then like a day off, and then a game, and then another back-to-back. Like it's just absolutely ludicrous how crammed their schedule is at this point in the year.
And even from like a player health perspective, the other part of it that sticks out to me is like if you want people to like care and be invested in your like scarcity is an asset. So there's just something goofy here. I don't know the answer. The answer is like actually cut the schedule. They're probably never going to do that. I understand like the arguments to not do it in some capacity, but like this is just like
it's either that or like expanding rosters a few more players you can
but no offense, you're getting less good players then.
Well, but if you raise the cap on top of that, so you have to like diversify the pool or something like that. Like that's the only way I can really logically think of like it working in that sense, I guess. So I don't know. It's like you said, it's just all just really yucky stuff like across the Rubicon. And I hate that I would use the word yucky, but like that's just how it really is.
We're just gonna get a clip of you saying yucky and throw it on TikTok and see what happens. It would just be cool if there was like some foresight in just like managing this better. It's just this
it's a very broad question for sure, and I just like obviously you can't like answer it
post All-Star break, the month before the play, like March is also the worst month of the year in the NBA schedule. That's my hot take to end this show. This is the worst part of the NBA schedule every year. Drags. This is when the season drags.
Oh, absolutely. Like it's just dreadful basketball at this point in the year. Just injuries pile up. Guys are kind of mentally checking out a little bit because they want to keep themselves healthy for the playoffs, and it just continues to get uglier and uglier until somebody. Either things break or they just get to the postseason finally.
Or there's like teams that are really good that like the Nuggets that are also watching and just don't have off nights, but like they also just like have earned the right to have an off. It's very silly oftentimes. All right, we're gonna end there. I will be back Tuesday. Evan's got Monday off. I'm gonna be here with Brendan Clean of Locked On Suns. You can to cover Cavs Suns. Little crossover recap pod covering whatever that game's gonna be. Lord knows what we're getting into Monday. So we'll talk to you after that. Please tune in. Check out Locked On NBA. Check out all our great shows across the Locked On Network. Check out Locked On Browns. The Browns got Jerry Jeudy. Evan, do you have any Jerry Jeudy take? I mean, you're a Broncos fan. Do you have a 30-second Jerry Jeudy take? I'm going to cut you off at 30 seconds, so starting now.
A lot of potential, just never quite lived up to the expectations. Cortland Sutton's much better than he was. The Broncos were going to cut him either way, so they're able to get something out of him. So it is what it is. Sean's having a full-blown teardown and fire sale, so whatever. I hope Russ cooks on his mid contract too. There we go.
Look at you, 18 seconds. That's Locked On Cavs for today. Thanks again to Jake Stevens. Have a good weekend, everybody.